Hello and welcome to the first episode of Australian Gothic, a podcast about cursed Australiana. With me today is my co-host Josie. Josie, I am so sorry about what this podcast has done to you in the last month.
Oh my god, yeah, you better fucking be sorry, dude. Like, I have a pretty high tolerance for some cursed shit. This has sent me off the deep end a bit. But there'll be some revenge coming down the line, so that's okay.
Oh, good. What the hell have I unleashed? For our inaugural episode, we have chosen to do like one of the worst shows, one of the most popular and worst shows in Australian history. We're looking at long-ish running variety show. It was only on the air for about 20 years. Hey, it's Saturday. Josie, I understand you're a little bit younger than me, but can you tell me, like, do you have any memory of this show as a younger person?
I do. It's sort of those memories that are kind of like a fever dream. Like, when Hey, It's Saturday officially sort of stopped airing, I was 6, and I had probably not watched it for a few years even then. So it's like some of my earliest memories are Ozzy the Ostrich, I think it is. I remember Red Simons of Skyhook's fame, and the big gong, and I remember Pluck a Duck. But other than that, like, I honestly remember laughing a lot with my parents, but until you put me up to the task of watching Hey, It's Saturday for this episode, I really had no clue what it was, and I certainly did not expect to be confronted with all sorts of problematic content.
Oh, well, I was going to just go right ahead and put a big old content warning here for anyone listening. There's some racism, some homophobia, some low-key pedophilia at one point. So everyone just go into that, be cautious before you proceed. My experience with Hey, It's Saturday, probably my clearest memory of it is I remember watching it because there were about 5 channels on television back in that day. Like, I remember someone in a Discord that you and I inhabit saying when they watched this, like, you watched it because there was basically nothing else on.
Yes.
My clearest memory of it is being with my family in Kingaroy, staying at my great aunt's place, and it being Saturday night, and so Hey, It's Saturday was on, and I just remember being too young. I think I was like 9 or 8 at the time when this memory happened, being way too young to understand all the wordplay and banter.
Oh, yeah.
And just, it's like, unless it was something involving the puppets or, I was being prompted to laugh by my parents, I was just like a bit fucking lost from the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was only really going back and watching it as an adult that you realize, like, oh, okay, this was probably kind of bad at the time, and, time has not sweetened things exactly.
No, and it's kind of interesting that you say that. It sounds like our experiences were kind of similar in terms of like the cues that we picked up from our parents and stuff like that. Like, there was a live audience from memory, so they would laugh. They were probably prompted to. I have no clue if that's true or not. But, when you're a kid, you want to spend time with your parents. They're crowded around a TV. It is the event of Saturday night, and so it's kind of just what you do. And when you're a kid, you sort of self-filter some things, thank fucking God. My God, like, we were both probably at high risk of turning out to be super fucking racist anyway. Yeah. God forbid we ever understood the content of Hey, It's Saturday. But that's also probably partially why we missed a lot of the, ideas, because racism is totally a learned behavior, and if we haven't quite learned all these sort of racial slurs and sort of caricatures, then that's fucking 60% of the content that you're missing, right? Yeah, so totally similar experience.
Well, before we proceed, I'll do like a little bit of a rundown, just like an explainer of Hey, It's Saturday. I'll try to keep it as brief as possible, but basically Hey, It's Saturday, as we know it, started officially in 1984. It existed before that as a variety show. Before that, that team working together started in 1971, and it was actually a like kids television rapper show where they would like, a rapper show. So basically, remember Agro's Cartoon Connection? How it would have like Agro and his co-host goofing around, and then they'd like throw to Sailor Moon.
Yes.
That was the original show. That was Daryl Somers and Ozzy Ostrich. They'd like goof off and then they'd throw to like a Mickey Mouse or like, a Looney Tunes cartoon. Yeah, that was how it started. There were a few shows like it where it was puppet host, human co-host, and they'd like, they'd banter, they'd make jokes, they'd play games, they'd goof off, they'd run competitions, and then they'd, throw to Pokemon or, whatever show was popular at that time.
Yeah, right. That's really a specific genre, isn't it? But like one that occupied a lot of my childhood.
Yeah, exactly. Most crucially, in the case of Hey Hey It's Saturday, it was not considered like a high priority time slot. So Daryl Somers, Ernie Carroll, who played Ozzy the Ostrich and like did the voice and operated the puppet, John Blackman, who did the voiceover, the morning radio sounding motherfucker who pipes up every now and then.
Yes. Yes.
They were given free reign to do whatever the hell they want. So considering a lot of boomer comedy that people our parents' age consumed, Monty Python, The Goon Show, Mel Brooks, the Marx Brothers, they modeled their comedy off that. So it was very irreverent. There was a lot of absurdism, a lot of breaking the fourth wall, having sketches that ran for way too long, then being dropped and starting again. Like, it was... For the time, it must have been... I thought of this really nerdy metaphor for it. From the Dracula movie, Anthony Hopkins' character expresses an admiration for Dracula. He was like, oh, he was a great man in life, but now he must destroy him. I sort of feel that way about Hey Hey It's Saturday, because at one point it was like this groundbreaking show that stagnated and became a piece of shit.
Well, when you say that, like the way that you described how it sort of began, I'm like, fuck yeah, I would love a show like that. I mean, I know that we have YouTube and fucking TikTok and everything, so the media landscape is inherently different. But the idea of like there being a studio and, a group of people being able to create and do what they want, that sounds so fun. And so like I can kind of see how that would have been really exciting to do at the time. Just unfortunate about how it was executed and where it ended up.
Yeah, and I think a lot of like what was viewed as acceptable jokes at the time and a refusal to grow, we'll talk more about that later, caused the show to become like something rotten over time.
Right.
Eventually, like this kid show, the rapper segments with like Daryl Somers and Ozzy Ostrich got so popular that eventually they discarded the cartoons altogether. It became its own show. From 1984 to about 1999, Hey Hey It's Saturday was one of the ratings leaders, like with the exception of sport. So yeah, the full lineup was, Daryl Somers, the host, one of the least likable people in Australian television, Ernie Carroll as Ozzy Ostrich, Red Simons from the Skyhooks, and who is a massive arsehole, as a member of the band and also the leader of the Red Faces segment. More on that later.
I can't wait for you to catch me up on both of those things, because I don't know much about Red Simons. I know him, like, as a figure, but I don't know anything about his lore.
So Red Simons' role on the show, when we get to the Red Faces segment, I'll probably detail that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Probably only really other hosts of note is Jackie McDonald, who was kind of really like the token woman. They always had to have like a female host, and she was really good. She seems really nice.
She seems really sweet, actually.
There's two other people. There was a sound effects guy whose name escapes me. He's the one constantly jumping in and making like morning radio sound effects over all the action. And then there's an illustrator who does like cartoons. You may have noticed every now and then it cut to like drawings.
Yes.
In 1992, Ernie Carroll retired and took the character of Ozzy Ostrich with him. So Pluckaduck was actually introduced as kind of a replacement. He was kind of like introduced early and fed into the show to take the place of Ozzy Ostrich.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I didn't realize that either, because I remember Ozzy Ostrich being on the show. So it must have been... One thing you probably noticed is, like, in later Hey Hey It's Saturday, how often they throw to, like, old clips, how much they reference the past.
So did Ozzy Ostrich return?
Yeah, at a number of points. Most critically in the 2009 specials. It was like a... Okay, so we should be clear, like, for my research, I set my attention to the 2009 specials.
Okay.
Because that's where the juicy stuff really happens. And Josie, I understand you mostly just dived in at random decades and consumed random points throughout history.
Yes, my limited bits of research for this episode. I did the first episode since I was like to air after I was born. So I did a random episode in 1993. Then with some other people online that I know, I did a random episode from 1994. And then earlier tonight, you know, to get me amped up to record, I did a random episode near someone's birthday in 1992. So because I sort of wanted to do a random selection because, you know, I have my opinions of this show and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just, you know, coincidentally watching the most racist of the episodes. But it turns out a very interesting cross-section. You'll find the first instance of blackface to be anywhere between the 4-minute and the 27-minute mark is something I found across all episodes that I watched.
Oh my God. Wow.
Blackface in every single one that I watched. And not even the same characters. Yes. So because like you have the more sophisticated research, I'll just sort of get my only notes out of the way because honestly, if I'm being honest, most of this was reacting, which most of my presence on this particular episode will be as well. So you said before you said Daryl Somers is like one of the most like least likable Australian TV hosts. My first note from watching Hey Hey It's Saturday is, who is this bloke? Oh, that's Daryl Somers. Okay, you're forgettable. And then here we go. This is interesting. My next note was ostrich is different from the chicken. So, meaning, okay, in my head I had conflated Aussie ostrich with plucker duck. But that's interesting now that I know that one had replaced the other at some point. In my little sort of fever dream baby brain, those were the same thing. Two more notes. 440 was how long it lasted until the first undeniably racist thing happened, and that was blackface. And then my last note was Red Simons has always looked like shit. Because like he was young. Yeah, he's just always looked like shit. He's just ugly. Sorry.
He has always looked the same, and yeah, he has always looked like, you know, he rocked out a little too hard with the skyhooks. Like it's interesting. So like the reason he's there is because the skyhooks, like this is one of the things where like Hey Hey It's Saturday was kind of revolutionary. They did a live cross with a skyhooks concert where like Daryl Somers and Ozzy Ostrich appeared on a big screen on the stage and like kind of bantered and chatted with the band.
Really?
And yeah, this was considered, you know, from a technical standpoint, wow, that's very cool for like, you know, the 80s. And apparently the rapport with Red Simons was so strong that that's what caused them to bring him on as band leader and leader of the Red Faces segment. And also just basically as a prototype version of like Simon Cowell from American Idol, where Red Simon's role is to just be an asshole.
You're right. Yeah, that's absolutely the role that he filled. Yeah, totally. He's like the answer to that. I think that might be what also brought my parents to watch it. At least that's sort of how I remember them sort of conveying it to me, was that they really loved the band Skyhooks. And knowing that Red Simons was on this show sort of brought them to Hey Hey It's Saturday. So that would have been mutually beneficial, I imagine.
Yeah. And, you know, and I like the Skyhooks. Maybe we'll do a Skyhooks episode.
I love the Skyhooks.
I'm worried that us, like, thinking of new shit to do in episodes is going to be a bit, so I'm going to, like, never mention it again from this point.
True. All right. Zip.
Just a reminder that Red Simons, before he resigned in 2018 from his ABC radio presenter job, he asked presenter Beverly Wang, what's the deal with all the Asians?
What?
Excuse
the fuck me?
He asked Beverly Wang, what's the deal with all the Asians? And proceeded to have this incredibly painful interview where he was just, like, so unbelievably racist.
I'm honestly gobsmacked because, I mean, racism's racism, but that's just, like, such lazy racism. Like,
I know.
What even is that question?
One thing that, like, because when I read this, I was gobsmacked, and then I found out that, like, 6 months later, his contract was not renewed, and I almost wonder if, like, did he know he was going to retire? Was he just like, I don't give a fuck anymore, I'm just gonna, like, say egregious shit for the fuck of it? Like,
yeah, maybe he was angling for, like, a Sky News contract or something.
Oh, Jesus, that never even occurred to me. Well, it looks like, fortunately, that has not come about, thankfully.
Thank fuck. Oh my god.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Could you please remind me, so Red Faces. That was one of the games that they played on the show, right? I didn't actually get to watch any of those segments, so I don't remember what it was.
Okay, so there were a number of recurring segments, varying in quality. I'll go into those quickly. Basically, all I had left of the history of the show, sorry to like duck back a little bit.
No, you're right.
Yeah, so the show kind of ambled along until 1999, where it very controversially was axed by Channel 9, who cited the cost of production, the aging audience, and a decline in viewing numbers, even though the show was still, like, popular. So it was kind of unusual, but also, like, you know, given what we know now, how much we've seen of the show, I can absolutely understand, like, people not wanting to watch it anymore.
Yeah, it's like, I wonder if they sort of saw the writing on the wall.
We'll go into this a little bit because Daryl Somers, as of 2021, had his own ideas for why the show was cancelled. So we'll get to that later. So going back to the segments, there was What Cheeses Me Off, where you actually witnessed one of these, where they just go into the audience and ask, like, the random audience, like, hey, what are you pissed off about? And usually proceed to talk over them.
Oh, yeah, they would start giving their answer and then they just sort of riff off it. But, like, I loved that because I can't think of anything more boomer than just, like, going to the audience, these fucking nobodies, and then they're whinging about an everyday thing. It's like a grind my gears. Like, I haven't watched Family Guy in ages, but it was like, you know what really grinds my gears? And it's just them whinging about, like, everyday stuff. It's like, who the fuck cares? It's not even interesting.
And this is like, you know, a number of people in this generation, the same people that do like, oh, toughen up, Snowflake. They made a whole segment about you complaining about, oh, someone cut you off in traffic on the way to the fucking studio. Are you kidding?
Yes, I remember. Oh, beautiful work.
This segment kind of shows one of the problems with the show, like, because it's so anarchic and you have like these 6 different presenters, like Summer, you know, Blackman in both his announcer role and playing Dickie Knee, the puppet that, like, the fucking monster puppet that pops up every now and then. You have the illustrator, the sound effect guy, and the band, like, all jockeying for jokes that they all kind of, like, talk over each other and it just becomes a mess.
Oh, so it's sort of like predicted podcasts.
A little bit, yeah, like a really fucking annoying podcast.
Not gonna name names, but we've all got some swirling about in our head. Please don't think of this one.
No, please don't think of this one. One of my notes for the 2009 special was like, hey, this invented podcasts having soundboards of all like the fucking stupid sound effects happening.
Oh my god, yes. Oh, could you imagine? Did Daryl Somers ever do a podcast?
Oh, I didn't get that far in research, but no, he seemed to, when the show ended, he had like a 3-year break, and then he just started hosting other things. People just kept tapping him on the shoulder to like, hey, come host Dancing with the Stars, come host the reality shows that replaced Hey Hey It's Saturday, which you seem to have forgotten were probably why Hey Hey It's Saturday went off the air, because reality shows were cheaper and popular.
Yes, okay, fucking hell. Alright, and then we had What Cheeses Me Off. I can't remember the name of it. Media Watch Disasters or something like that. This is a segment I've seen in a lot of like crappy late night talk shows where it's like people submit like misprinted news headlines or like advertisements. Usually like what the?
I was about to invoke What the from Rove Live. So yeah, Jay Leno did something very similar.
I've been thinking about this a lot because again, as a child, I would laugh at those things where it's like misprints and stuff like that, and some are genuinely funny, but I realized that a lot of them are like signs in other countries where these people are fucking making the effort to write signs in a language that isn't their first language, and then white people are just going over there being like, haha, they spelled it wrong. Or like, they spelled it phonetically. And it's like, I'd certainly understand the mindset of finding that funny because I've been there. But now it's sort of like, hey, actually, I'm the one that's fucking, you know, monolingual or whatever.
Yeah, how many languages can you write in?
Exactly. Like, fuck yeah. I don't know. That's what really cheeses me off.
Oh, okay. Good on you. Whip sound. So quickly run through the other recurring segments. One that I actually like, Chook Lotto, just because it's like fucking ridiculous. It's a parody of Powerball, where instead of like colored balls with numbers on them, they're like frozen chickens, just like that they throw at Daryl Somers and Jackie McDonald.
That does sound very funny, to be fair.
Yeah, in the 2009 special that I watched, this is the closest the show came to, like, actually making me laugh a little bit. And also the closest Daryl Somers came to being, like, kind of charismatic. Because, like...
Oh, really?
Because, like, they throw these chickens around, they've got, like, baby dolls, it's a fucking mess. It's like a precursor to Eric Andre. Like, it's amazing that they were doing shit like this so long ago. Eric Andre's got problems, but still, it was, like, messy. It was, like, I chuckled a little bit. And then Daryl Somers at one point sort of turns to the camera and says, "We did this for years." And I was just like, huh.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, this is absurd, right? And, like, you're breaking the fourth wall by addressing the audience, and it's like, that's kind of endearing. And I guess it kind of speaks, like, again, I don't know much about the evolution of Hey Hey It's Saturday, but you sort of have alluded to the fact that it got stale because they refused to change the cast, and it's sort of like, I guess there are glimpses of that absurdity and fun probably made the show really interesting to watch in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess there are a few other segments, a few other recurring characters, but probably most infamous of all, because this will segue into the spectre hanging over this show, is Red Faces, which is a talent show where they basically get user-submitted entries, you know, just random members of the public to demonstrate their talents, whether it's like singing, dancing, magic tricks. The contestants were usually a mixture of, like, some genuinely talented people and, honestly, this is the most ghoulish part, freaks for people to laugh at.
Yeah. There's some people who, you know, if I'm being honest, aren't necessarily playing with the full deck.
Mm-hmm.
That are sort of made fun of, and you certainly wouldn't nor shouldn't get away with that now, if that kind of makes sense. Yeah, I think I luckily didn't see any of those, because also to be clear, especially to overseas watchers, this show does not fucking end. Each episode, it's not an hour. It's like fucking, 2 to 3 hours a pop.
It's so long.
I could not watch an entire episode from start to finish. I skipped bits and pieces. Oh, another side note, they do have live musical acts, and honestly, they got some really good acts on there. The one that I watched before we started recording, they had John Bon Jovi fucking performing live, and I'm like, oh man, this is part of why people tune in, right?
Yeah.
Because Hey Hey It's Saturday is getting these touring acts to play live, and that's incredible.
And that was a real key to the show's success, like the live music and eventually building up a reputation where they could have people like Bon Jovi and, guest presenters like, Sylvester Stallone. So they were getting, like, big name actors in to present. And also, like, a lot of those big name presenters really enjoyed it because, it was a wacky show. It was, like, nowhere near as, like, restrictive as, say, going on Johnny Carson or Jay Leno. Mm-hmm. You could goof around and improvise, and it was, like, very silly. And the other thing the guest presenters did was host Red Faces along Red Simon and one other, like, guest judge. Sorry, just to sort of wrap that bit up. But yeah, like, the live music on the show, I'm sort of critical of it because, like, it all tended to fall into a similar sort of thing. But no, like, for a time there, they were getting, like, big name acts, and that was a big part of its success. Yeah,
I certainly can understand why you might want to tune in if you know that, like, a band you really like is playing. No, I was quite impressed that John Bon Jovi was there, and also, like, fucking Steven Seagal, I think, was the other guest.
Oh my god.
That's really just a glimpse into December of 1992.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and look, that's all the more disappointing when, like, immediately after that segment finishes, they make, like, a gay joke.
Oh my god. And in my mind's eye, I remember the rating system of Red Faces, where, like, the judges would write their number out of 10 and flip it over. And I know that a lot of people I speak with on the internet will reply to things, especially as it pertains to blackface, with this actor who I now know is it Harry
Connick Jr.
Harry Connick Jr. I don't know who the fuck that is. I'm very clueless, and he's holding up a big 0, but I've kind of gathered what that's from now, and I'm sure you'll elaborate on that later. But yeah, even just from, like, deep in my soul, I remember the blue paper and the big numbers being shown to rate whatever act it was.
I feel like that image of Harry Connick Jr. holding up the bit of blue paper with the 0 on it is burnt into a number of like certain older people's brains forever. Like, and that's great, because I was going to get to the event that kind of destroyed the whole show was the 2009 reunion special, which was a big deal. It was very grand. It was like so cool that Hey Hey It's Saturday was back. I was in uni at the time and just wasn't really keeping track of TV, and then it happened.
I've never watched it, so I would love you to describe this for me, because I could not watch the particular damning event. I just can't watch it. It's very upsetting.
Yeah, it's absolutely extremely upsetting to watch. What's most jarring is like how otherwise well received it is by the audience. So basically, in 1989, a group of 5 medical students did a blackface performance as the Jackson 5, calling themselves the Jackson Jive. They did the full blackface, the giant wigs, the boot polish, they whitened their damn teeth, and they did a performance of Can You Feel It?
Wait, so that was in the 80s?
Yes. So this is...
So there was already a precursor to this. Are you kidding me?
Yep.
For
So
fuck's sake.
this was a cute callback.
Oh my God! Sorry, I'm so mad.
Okay, so anyway, the Red Faces segment, which has been cut from HeyHey.tv, I sat through the 2-hour special to watch it, and then I was like, there was a reference to it, and I was just like, they cut it out. They cut it out. Anyway, Red Faces happens, and they introduce them. It's just like, they're back, the Jackson Jive, and they're all working doctors now. The one playing Michael Jackson, instead of having blackface, has completely whited himself up in reference to Michael Jackson's vitiligo diagnosis.
Oh my God.
And they do a big performance of Can You Feel It? I admittedly haven't watched the full performance. Just like the snippets they showed on the news were like enough to have me like holding my head in my hands and shrieking, because it is just like that grim that they were doing this on TV in 2009. During the performance, Harry Connick Jr., Harry Connick Jr. is a actor, big band musician. Earlier in the 2009 special, he does a cover of Just the Way You Are by Billy Joel, which is like the other side of Hey Hey It's Saturday's music is very boring crooner shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, very...
Which I think soon you'll probably reference some other musicians, who are very talented.
Yes.
But, yeah, the crooner vibe for sure.
Yeah, this was music that was safe for your nana to watch right before the segment where a bunch of dudes wear blackface.
Fucking
So
hell.
Harry Connick Jr., who is from America, looked visibly uncomfortable during this segment. And during the ratings round, sorry, by the way, it's a running joke that Red Simons, who again is a piece of shit, is hypercritical and only rates everyone a 2.
Right, yeah. And the gong, is that part of it?
Yeah, he rings the gong when he's had enough of the performance.
Right, okay.
So the idea is to sort of like cut off the performer, like if they're underperforming, cut them off like as soon as possible. Like there are some performers where they ring the gong straight away before they can even get the word out, and the joke is meant to be like, haha, that guy didn't even get to start.
Yeah, because they're like visibly abhorrent or something like that. There's like a few of those sorts of things I'm kind of digging up from my memory.
So anyway, Red Simon gives it 2. I can't remember the other host rating. Harry Connick Jr. holds up his bit of paper, 0.
Yeah.
Says the famous line, something to the effect of, if that had happened in America, it would be called, hey, there's no show anymore.
Yeah, and fucking rightly so, dude. Like, that... because I totally missed this, so I would have been... God, I think I started uni that year. I can't remember. No, I was in grade 11 that year. Holy shit. And I kind of missed this. Like, I was too busy fucking playing World of Warcraft or whatever. So, like, I've only heard of this through the internet in recent years. His response is totally fucking on point. I mean, especially. Okay, rolling back a bit. And, throughout this podcast, the series of this podcast, racism is probably going to come up in every fucking episode because it's a colony. But we learned from the other colony, or one of the other fucking colonies, America. Obviously, America is really fucking racist too. But how do I word this? Like, there is still enough history there and enough awareness there where you're like, you cannot do blackface, dude. Like, you can't fucking do blackface. Like, no. I don't know. Sorry, I'm not... It's really upsetting, actually. And it's... I think last night I went on my uni's like library database and just searched "Hey Hey It's Saturday," and most of it was just like news articles with "Hey Hey It's Saturday" in the title, and all of it was like how the Australian response to the 2009 episode.
Oh dear.
And the blackface was like, oh, you know, it's just a bit of a joke, a bit of a throwback.
Oh, they
whereas,
love that.
Oh, you know, it's just a bit of a laugh. Whereas, as Harry Connick Jr. rightly said, like, you can't do that. That's fucked up, guys. What are you doing? Except Whoopi Goldberg.
Okay.
Whoopi Goldberg said, it's all right. It's all right that they did blackface.
What?
Now, oh yeah, but do you know another time that Whoopi Goldberg said it was okay to do blackface?
Getting her then boyfriend Ted Danson to wear blackface at a roast for her? Is that what it was?
Yeah, Ted Danson doing blackface at a birthday like roast for Whoopi Goldberg. I think they're having an affair actually, so it looks
okay.
Anyway, not that's none of my business, but just a little bit of gossip. And a racist fucking roast. Like, it wasn't even. My point is, Whoopi Goldberg, not meaning to overstep, but I won't say that she is like an authority on what is and isn't appropriate when it comes to fucking blackface. But at least she's consistent. My point is I feel like that was one of the moments where you can acutely see how far behind Australia is in just even talking about racism compared to the US. And the US is fucking racist, but at least there are conversations happening.
I want to say, like, you know, from what little I know, at least in the US, there are lots of African-American, you know, actors, TV personalities, and I've seen evidence to suggest that even like a parasocial relationship with someone like, say, you know, Will Smith, like topical figure, can like make a person less racist or like less bigoted. Whereas, you know, in Australia, like our media ecosystem is extremely, you know, Anglo-Celt,
so
white. Like, it's better now, but, you know, it's still not as good as it could be. And yeah, if you don't have anyone, you therefore don't have anyone there challenging that. And so you get like a show in 2009 that thinks it's totally fine to have a bunch of guys on in blackface.
Well, you know what's also okay? It's also okay to have a recurring guest who is Kumahl. Is he South Asian?
He's Malaysian Australian.
Yeah, so, you know, I guess Hey Hey It's Saturday did have diversity.
One guy every now and then, and we will talk about Kumahl near the end, if that's okay.
Before going on, another very frequent theme, again, it was racism. Something I keep thinking about is in one of the episodes, they had this woman on, I believe it was for a lotto type game, or it was like one of the games where you win an actual prize, and she came on, and, you know, she was Australian with Chinese heritage. I'm not sure if you were watching it at that point.
Oh no, I know the segment you're referring to, the a trope you get in Australian life. Where are you from?
Where are you from? Yeah, exactly. And, you know, this woman has a pretty, I would say, standard Australian accent. Certainly not the accent that Daryl Somers was expecting from her. And he kept saying, where are you from? And she's like, oh, you know, like West Sydney or something like that. And he's like, oh, I thought you were going to say, and then, God, fucking, I've deleted it from my brain what he said. But like, and she's like, yeah, no, like third generation Australian. And she was like, it was clearly something that I'm sure this woman has like experienced so many times in her life. But to like see that now, I was just like, holy fuck, dude. And like now knowing Chinese people have been living in Australia for a very fucking long time. African people were in the First Fleet. Like, there's just this, and this is not to excuse Daryl Somers, but I think that the show, what I've seen of the show, represents what is a semi-successful white Australia policy, where our non-white history, the non-white history of this land, and even the non-white history of this colony is just totally forgotten. That you have this TV host on national TV confused at the concept that this woman with Chinese heritage is Australian and isn't wasn't born elsewhere. Anyway, I'm sorry. I know I'm kind of dragging it on, but I was just like, I feel like this show sort of encapsulates
a lot of problems.
Just a lot of problems that will be a common thread in Australian Gothic, I believe.
Yep, and look, fully cards on the table, like, I was not super aware of this. I only learnt that, I knew there were Chinese, people living here during the gold rush, and,
Oh, yes! Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
I knew about that, but then that was sort of just like a side, and it's like, oh, by the way, there were Chinese people. But, like, the comedian Michael Hing did a special about this, where he said that, like, man, my family has been here since basically, like, the First Fleet. Like, been here for, like, over 100 years. Like, and people still ask me where I'm from.
Yeah, I haven't watched that. I think that would be really fascinating. And, also... And yeah, like, I'm not going to pretend that I fucking had all this knowledge either, right? And so it's, like, again, not an excuse, but it's an explanation for this behavior. And yeah, like, sort of just to wrap it up, as it pertains to Michael Hing and this woman that was on this show, her family, their families have probably been here longer than, like, my family has been here, like,
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Getting back to the 2009 Jackson Jive incident, this basically caused worldwide coverage of, like, oh my god, Australia is a backwards racist shithole. And it kind of is in places, we have to admit that. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
And in the comments, there are older people who are still mad at Harry Connick Jr. Not at the...
Are you serious?
They're not mad at the show for racism. Like, this was kind of a cultural apocalypse for a certain breed of older Australian. Like, Harry Connick Jr. holding up that little piece of paper broke their brains forever.
I feel like if there was a Venn diagram of these people in the comments holding a grudge towards Harry Connick Jr. And white boomers who still own knitted dolls of African American caricatures, it would be a circle.
Yep.
I'm not gonna talk about those dolls because, again, I think that might be an episode in and of itself.
Oh, Jesus, a depressing fucking episode that is. I have...
Hey, I've had the cops called on me about those dolls.
What?
No, that was a bit of an exaggeration.
Wait, I think I know the story you're referring to. Oh my god. Yes. Yeah. So
to keep listeners for next time, I once asked my state's knitting festival whether or not they supported or condemned racism, and they called the cops on me.
I remember this.
Yeah, that's all I'll say for now. I'll tell the full story some other time. But yeah, so people are mad at the zero. Like, that was more of an insult than, blackface.
Yes. This was, like, basically, like, and, doing all the usual shit, like, oh, it's just a laugh. Oh, they make fun of everyone. All that shit. Like, Hannah Gadsby's point about, like, yeah, if it's straight white dude being made fun of, like, it's humility. If it's anyone else, it's humiliation. Everyone trotting out the bad faith arguments, and in a way, it didn't matter. Like, yeah, Australia, like, became a media sensation for a bit for how fucking backwards we are. But hey, it's Saturday came back for one more season in 2010.
Jesus Christ, you serious?
I was worried you'd hung up the call there for a second.
No, I'm just...
Yeah.
It's just most of Australian Gothic. It's just a lot of dead air. As I'm slowly dying inside.
I'll have to leave. I may have to leave in some of the dead air, everybody, just so you can understand, like, Josie's reaction. I will edit it out elsewhere, but I think this bit has to stay.
Like, I'm not a woman who is often lost for words, but okay, yeah, I think you found my sort of, like, kryptonite, because Australian culture just fucks me up. It fucks me up so much.
The scandals aren't done. There's at least two more.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
So the 2010 season, in another instance that has also been removed from HeyHey.tv, during the 2010 Halloween episode, I think
Oh no.
Yeah, I think you know what I'm talking about.
No, I don't.
Another Red Faces segment where a group of three, maybe early teens girls do a musical cover of California Girls by Katy Perry. So basically it's set up, these girls, like, start doing their song, They're all standing on stage. They're kind of swaying. They each have one hand in the air, clicking their fingers. I myself had like just kind of like screamed and like, you know, bashed the desk because I couldn't like believe this was something that was actually shown on TV. As the song starts, the camera starts zooming in on one of the girls' butts.
And they're wearing short denim shorts because they're young girls and they want to feel like they want to dress in what's fashionable, and they're absolutely entitled to wear denim shorts if they want to.
Also,
Sorry.
No, it's that as well. Also, in the song California Girls, there's a line, Daisy Dukes, bikinis on top. So I wonder if the shorts are a reference to the lyrics. Like,
of fucking course they are.
Yeah. Is they're otherwise wearing like flannelette shirts and cowboy hats, but also like that was kind of the look. That was a look for a bit. So yeah, they were trying to look cool. They were going to be on TV.
This really. So I'll let you sort of sum up the rest of what happened, and then I'll chime in.
Okay, so the camera starts like zooming in on this child's butt, and then it cuts to like the cartoonist who has written the word "revealing!" on a bit of paper and like shakes it excitedly, as though we the audience are also meant to be excited about this cinematography. I don't know how far they get into the song because the video I saw like kind of cuts from like the opening bar of the song to like the gong happening. During this segment, the guest judge is Ellie Hooper, the lead singer of the band Killing Heidi, who were performing on the show. She gives the girls a good rating, but takes an opportunity to basically call out the cameras, the vision switching team for the choice of shots.
She called it pedophilic. She was like, it was honestly quite pedophilic or something like that.
Oh, she hadn't gone that far at this point because
really?
She very lightly chided the team at Hey Hey It's Saturday for their choice of shots, which were objectionable. And for the rest of the Red Faces segment, they all fucking gang up on her.
Really? Okay. I must have just not paid attention to sort of that detail. So she was sort of being like, hey, inappropriate sort of thing. And then the dudes responded poorly? Is that...
Honestly, it's really kind of fucking sad. She says in kind of almost like a sort of nurturing and resigned way, it's just like, I did not enjoy the camera work for that segment, but that is not your fault, so I'm giving you a 6. Yes. Like, she's addressing the girls, but taking the opportunity to kind of just like throw shade on the team at Hey Hey It's Saturday. Just sly saying, what the fuck was that? And in response, apparently during the ad break, she and Daryl Somers had like a quite heated fight about it.
Really?
Somers must have been quite insulted by this. And for the rest of the segment, because honestly, like, I watched this clip, was so appalled by it that I had to fucking stop for a bit, and then like watched it again to see that like everyone, Ozzy Ostrich, Dickie Knee, Daryl Somers, they all kind of keep making jokes. It's just like, well, was that good direction? Was that good direction?
Yes. Yeah.
It is.
They all made a bit of a, they kind of needled her a bit. And then I think there was another performance, and that's when she made the pedophilic comment. Is that right?
Yeah, well, they kept this up, and at the very end, like, they crowned like a strongman or something like that, the winner of that Red Faces segment, and they were just like, was that good enough direction for you? And she was like, definitely less pedophilic. She just like went for the fucking bone, as she rightly should.
Yeah.
Good on you, Ellie Hooper.
Yeah, I think I skipped forward a few times because I saw the clip of that, because it is so fucking upsetting. I mean, obviously, if you have any sort of fucking conscience, like, you know that is so hurtful and harmful for those girls. But, you know, I certainly, like, I can remember in my gut how much shame was felt as a teenager or even as a tween, wanting to just wear the clothes that I like, and then having grown men comment on your body or leer at you, or have a woman or someone else being like, hey, don't dress like that because you're attracting the wrong attention. And it's like, Hooper, again, absolutely not criticizing her. She made such a good point of being like, this is not, like, you're not being marked down for your performance, to be clear. And I really appreciated that. And to give context, Killing Heidi, Ella Hooper, I believe she was like 15 or 16 when that band really took off.
Shit,
so I wouldn't be surprised. She was very, I could be wrong, maybe I'm getting it conflated with Silverchair. So from memory, sorry, I might just quickly Google that if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Just 'cause I'm a fucking know-it-all.
But honestly, like while you're Googling that, it does not shock me that like basically any woman working in entertainment, like it wouldn't shock me if like you've probably had to deal with some awful shit, huh?
I'm sure just as a woman in general, she had experienced that. Here we go. So 1996, Ella and Jesse played an early gig. Ella was 13.
Wow, okay.
So that's younger than I thought.
Jesus.
But let me see. Yeah. So 1999 was when they had their first national tour. So, yeah, she would have been 16. Yeah. So, yeah, 16. So she has probably experienced her fair share of objectification. When I watched that, I felt it on like a visceral level, how upsetting. Like, I remember how it feels like you feel dirty as a young girl, a child, to have these people sort of objectify you. So, and I think Ella Hooper was fucking awesome. She was probably politer than I could have possibly been in that moment.
Oh, yeah.
And, and she was still fucking, ridiculed for it.
It's a really illuminating moment, this particular clip, because it honestly shows, like, at the heart of Hey Hey It's Saturdays, like, banter and wordplay and shit. They're actually very mean-spirited, quite aggressive. It's quite intense watching all these dudes fucking go. A woman I didn't realize was 26 at the time, and these fucking 60-year-olds.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I guess because, like, in my brain, I'm like, they're all adults. But yeah, you're totally right. Even then, there's still, like, a power imbalance, right? Because this woman is younger than 30 and...
Also remember that Daryl Somers is, like, it's still quite a powerful entity at this stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, fuck, we did.
Yeah. Fortunately, there was only one new season in 2010, and Hey Hey It's Saturday has basically never come back in this form. It has been kind of a zombie production ever since.
How many episodes were in the 2010 season? Did it go for a whole year?
Just about, yeah. I want to say I saw like at least 10 or 16 episodes between that amount.
That is too many.
I know, like it was long, and again, each episode is like 3 hours long. This episode with the Red Faces segment they only had about 23 minutes of it. So like, they cut the whole Red Faces bit. They must have like, cut this episode to the bone, because the rest of the episodes are all about like 2-3 hours. It's mental.
Kind of want to watch, like, I wonder if there's like a torrent somewhere of like was it aired live?
I believe it's mostly live. I believe, live with a slight delay, so if someone does like drop the F-bomb, they have time to censor it. Like, someone probably has like a torrent of every episode of Hey Hey It's Saturday if you want to torrent it. Which you should if you want to, but also why?
Yeah, seriously, the moments of note are all on YouTube, and all the moments of note are terrible. Yep.
You don't need to sit through the whole thing. I sat through like most of the second special of the 2009 specials, and I was mostly very bored.
I just remember you sending me like frantic like messages, be like, fuck, nah. At least I had sort of critical support in a Discord server when I watched.
Yeah, that was very good of everyone. Also good to see, like, hey, it's not just me. Everyone else is also just like being like, what the fuck is this shit?
Yeah.
So in about 2014, HeyHey.tv, the streaming service that Josie and I tortured ourselves with, was launched. I guess it's sort of novel for them to be able to launch a streaming app like that in that time in Australia. I've paid exactly $6 to do all this research, and I immediately are going to cancel it the second we finish recording.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I was going to say, like, because I logged onto it tonight, and I saw that you had, like, paid for the month, and I was like, no!
I'm going to cancel it before it auto-renews.
Fantastic.
During this period, Hey Hey It's Saturday is, again, a zombie production. Daryl Somers keeps, like, popping up every now and then saying, like, oh, we're going to bring it back. The only thing that really happens is last year in 2021 in October, during the 50th anniversary of Hey Hey It's Saturday, they did what is basically a clip show. I've seen clips of it, and it's mostly just very boring. There are already like bests of Hey Hey It's Saturday, so it really is just more of that. It's Daryl Somers on a green screen, no audience. To be fair, this was filmed at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yes.
So they probably wouldn't have been able to do a live show, but it's
maybe the only responsible thing they've ever done.
Yeah, good on them for also you know that the audience for this show, like a couple of them, have strong opinions about COVID-19 and are absolutely going to kill you.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's mostly very boring. Like, there are a lot of current comedians who, you know, were either on Hey Hey It's Saturday or were inspired by it and innovated upon what they saw. They pop in, but yeah, mostly very boring. But that's not the only thing that happened in 2021, because in March 21st, 2021, while being interviewed by the Daily Telegraph, Daryl Somers was asked if it was possible to make Hey Hey It's Saturday in this environment, which point he invoked culture war.
Oh, did he talk about cancel culture?
Probably. He used political correctness, but I don't know, like, the usual
PC
shit.
gone mad.
Them darn SJWs don't want...
Oh, wokeism.
Yeah.
Don't want blackface anymore.
Yeah. And in response, that's where the Twitter user John Patterson, who put together what is basically the racism supercut that you and I watched, of basically some of the... Not even all, but just some of the most objectionable moments from Hey Hey It's Saturday over the course of its history. Just like racism, sexism, homophobia, the Chinese-Australian lady who's been here for 3 generations and is just like, oh, I'm from Sydney, what do you want about? Like, all of those most uncomfortable moments, the California Girls segment. So we owe John Patterson for compiling this list so we don't have to spool through Hey Hey's history.
And will that be in the show notes at all?
Oh, sorry. If you go to the bottom of the show notes, I believe it is called Hey Hey It's Saturday Racism Supercut.
So just click on that, folks, and have yourself a good evening in.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, sorry. I thought you meant like, okay, the show notes, not the Google Doc, the description. Got it. I understand now. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Josie. No, and the key thing to come out of this was just everyone realizing just how shit Kumahl was treated by his co-stars. Just some honestly fucking vile shit.
So I only know Kumahl from, I remember he did like, from memory, like Coke ads, or maybe like he did some ads with an elephant or something like that. I think so. I think it was around the time of Australian Idol. And I remember my mum being like, oh, I know him.
Yeah, look, he's been a huge... One thing I wasn't aware of until looking at this series of tweets was, like, not only how big he was in Australian media, but just how big he was abroad. He was a big fucking deal. Like, one mad person on Twitter, like, goes off at John Patterson and says, like, oh, hey, it's Saturday made Kumahl, so he should be fine with being treated like shit for his race. At which point John Patterson goes off and says, like, motherfucker, Kumahl was selling out Carnegie Hall.
Oh my god.
Eventually this heat, like, everyone got so mad about his treatment that Kumahl came out, spoke about his experience, and how he had to, like, be stoic every time he went on the show. Like, he was honestly, like, way too nice, way too graceful about it. His co-stars were nevertheless still pricks in response. We'll talk about this in a second.
Jesus.
Kumahl mentioned that, like, after one of the segments where they made fun of his skin color, he was like, man, a week later I was performing at Carnegie Hall getting introduced by Bob Hope. For those of you under 25, this is a fucking huge deal.
Oh my god.
He did not need, hey, it's Saturday.
No. And, like, again, of course, saying racist comments to anyone is disgusting. But it's, like, not even proximity to power, like the fame of Kumahl, stopped those comments from happening, you know? And also just, I think it's also like underestimating that a non-white person could even have such fame and success and be successful without the help of these white men on Hey It's Saturday. Like,
I also think there's just ignorance because a lot of people just like know Kumahl is from Hey It's Saturday. Like, they were unaware that...
Right.
And that could have been Australia at the time. We kind of insulated from the rest of the world, like, not knowing that, like, no, this guy's a huge fucking deal abroad. Like, you know, he's...
We are guilty of that.
Yep. Kumahl was incredibly graceful about that, and this was one of the final nails in the coffin, even for Hey It's Saturday. John Blackman, even he went off at Kumahl, saying that it was all an exaggeration.
What?
Yeah, he dug his own hole.
He's a cunt.
And that was about it. Like, nothing else has really happened except about 7 days ago. Honestly, I must swear to everyone, we planned this podcast like a month in advance. This is not a reaction thing. 7 days ago, Ernie Carroll, who did the puppeteering for Ozzy Ostrich, died at age 92.
Bye, bitch. Sorry.
Yeah. Look. I don't know if he
sad
did
for him
much,
and his family,
yeah.
I guess, but
Yeah, look, I don't know if he did much of like the really egregious shit. It was more like Daryl Somers and like the other cast members, but yeah, still like anyone who is still holding out for a Hey Hey It's Saturday reunion, sorry. Hi everyone, sorry to interrupt, it's editor Lucas. Also realised I forgot to introduce myself at the start of the episode, sorry about that. I'm Lucas, one of the hosts of Australian Gothic. I'm jumping in here to let everyone know that Josie and I have been owned. Hey Hey It's Saturday is coming back on April 17th for a live broadcast in Melbourne, one of 3 specials. This is deeply upsetting and we hope you are just as sad as we are. Back to our main show. Come on.
Yeah, like,
Ozzy,
I don't know.
Come on, sorry.
No. Fuck. Oh. Nah, sorry, I'm just thinking of all just Australian anthems now. Just... what a fucking trash continent.
Yeah.
Colony, rather. The land here is beautiful. Woof. Woofa doofa.
Some of the things we have made here are okay, and we may address them. I think the remit of this podcast is we're mostly going to talk about stuff that either sucks or is complicated, but we may occasionally talk about some cool things that have happened here, but not today. That was Hey Hey It's Saturday.
There's nothing cool about it.
It sucks shit. I'm glad it's finished. Let's make some new shit.
Yeah, and sort of speaking to that, I've seen people talk about TISM before, and I think you logged onto the Discord that we're both on when I was watching a certain TISM performance that, you know, I'd say is pretty problematic in and of itself. Mm-hmm. You kind of said that particular performance had people up in arms that they never invited TISM on again.
Yes.
Which, you know, if you think back to the origins of Hey Hey It's Saturday, where it was, you know, a little bit edgy, and then, you know, years later, they're suddenly being like, whoa, we can handle blackface, but we draw the line at people coming up on stage or something. Like,
okay, yes.
I didn't understand what about it was so offensive. Like, blackface is way more offensive to me. I didn't, do you know what I mean? Like, obviously I didn't love it, but I didn't see what was so egregious.
Good point. Thank you for reminding me. Because I don't want to end this on a downer note, I do want to talk about something I unironically like about Hey Hey It's Saturday, and that is the 1989 performance of Saturday Night Palsy by the band TISM on a bewildered Hey Hey It's Saturday. You can find this on YouTube. Please go and watch it. Pause it and watch it if you will. You will note that at the start, Daryl Somers looks incredibly nervous as he introduces them.
Really?
He and Ozzy Ostrich try to make banter, but it sucks. You know, sucks more than usual. Daryl Somers at one point cups his head in his hands when he realizes the song is called Saturday Night Palsy.
Oh, sorry. That's such a fucking cop-out. Like, mate. Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry.
Yep.
I'm mad. Like, obviously, I don't love Saturday Night Palsy, but you can't do blackface on your show and then be like, whoa. Yeah. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, sorry, content warning. The song, before you go listen to the song, Saturday Night Palsy is a boppy rock song about wanting to kill yourself in a bunch of, like, ridiculous ways. So, you know, be careful about how you approach that as well. So the rumor has it that TISM were on to play this song and were told at the last minute that they would not be playing live, they would be doing a lip sync. And I imagine this is because the producers of Hey Hey It's Saturday took one look at TISM and were like, fuck no, these guys are going to, like, I don't know, say swear words or, like, upset the nanas watching this show.
Right.
This pissed off TISM so much that they called... Sorry, TISM, to be clear, for those people who aren't in Australia, stands for This Is Serious Mum. They are a rock band, synth pop group,
That's cool.
Collective. There is, at any given time, between 5 and, you know, upwards of 10 members. They all wear...
I love this.
They all wear balaclavas. Their shows are extremely subversive. It should be a good fit because, like you said, Hey Hey It's Saturday was this very anarchic show at the start, but no, they were too subversive for Hey Hey It's Saturday. So the performance starts and there's like 5 or so members on stage wearing these like whack costumes, and as the performance goes on, more and more performers in costume rush the stage. And this is because TISM were so upset, they called all of their extended band members and told them to come to the studio with an hour's notice to just basically crash this performance. And as the
I had no idea.
and as the
Because that was my first introduction to TISM, so I was just like,
what the fuck is this?
they're a bit quirky.
Why are there so many members? Why are they switching lead singers?
Oh my god, that's so fucking... So they knew that they were like... Daryl Somers cancel culture was about to come for them. So they just like doubled down.
Yeah. So they swarm the stage. As the performance goes on, the camera has to keep like, widening further and further out to fit like there's something like 15, 20 members of TISM who are all like dancing in weird fucking jerky ways. I laugh my ass off every time I watch this performance. Because you can just tell that the crew, the directors, everyone watching is just getting angrier and angrier as this performance goes on.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. That is beautiful. I do love that. I appreciate that so much.
I don't know if you noticed it, but about just as they're doing the final chorus, you see flashing text on screen that says, "This is not Red Faces."
This is not... Oh.
And this is because people must have been calling into the show wondering why Red Simons hadn't gonged these people off yet and why they were being forced to watch a whole TISM song.
Oh my god. Oh my god. It like shows like the peak or like the end point of these people who began watching this like, somewhat subversive variety show who are now calling up being like, oh, this is cheesing me off.
You know what cheeses me off? This damn band doing the thing that we liked 20 years ago but don't anymore. Make them go away. Make TISM go away.
I want this cancelled.
Make TISM go away is probably a name of one of their albums, but
Make TISM go away.
But yeah, so that's TISM showing like what a stagnant, tired show Hey It's Saturday was. And this was in its prime. This was 1989. This was supposedly like peak Hey.
Oh, wow. That is supposed to be peak Hey. So for that to have been stale before I was even on this earth, that's incredible. Like they were already on their sort of like catering to the status quo sort of trajectory. And yes, to listeners, the status quo is blackface in Australia. Like, we are incredibly racist.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't listened to it yet, but friend of the show, Joe Kasabian of Lions Led by Donkeys, was saying that one of his patrons cancelled their Patreon pledge, and the excuse was Australia. And I haven't listened to it yet, but apparently they had recently ripped in to the island nation of Nauru, which... I'm sure we will probably do an episode or two on offshore detention centres.
Yes.
Where we illegally imprison asylum seekers, and one of them is on the island nation of Nauru. I think they rip into it pretty bad and be like, Australia, what the fuck? And and I'm just like, yeah, exactly. I was like, yes, I think people underestimate how fucking racist this colony is. But yeah, sorry.
And how many countries are trying to import that? They're just like, oh, that's a great idea. Let's do it here, like, because we also suck. But yeah, like we are kind of a forerunner in barbarism.
Oh yeah, it's like to listeners who. Yeah, I mean, everyone's a fucking new listener here. It's a pilot episode, Josie. Jesus. I have this complicated relationship with Australia where I am grateful to have been born here out of anywhere, because we have such incredible, like, the land is beautiful. We do have Medicare. We are quite safe. At least there's a perceived safety, especially as a white person.
Mm-hmm.
Underneath it all, and I guess this is the Gothic part, right, is those feelings and this safety that you and I both benefit from is at the expense of fucking horrendous actions, both historic and continuing. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking more about different aspects of Australian Gothic, and some will be a bit more light than others. Like I'm really looking forward to talking about our next episode on Byron Bay.
Oh yeah. Oh no.
Which, is mostly just us dunking on a very specific type of white person and their lack of herd immunity on the Central Coast. But then there's like these complicated topics. I feel like Hey It's Saturday could fit into a complicated topic, because I think that what I would love is a show like Hey Hey It's Saturday, but with, I think maybe you suggested it in a chat sometime, with like a revolving cast, or, you know, maybe switch half the cast out every year and bring in fresh people and keep it this sort of creative, subversive thing. Sometimes you'll nail it, sometimes you won't. But I think that's something that we could really benefit from here and find new talent from. But what we have is poopy. This is due to us. And yeah, I think that is kind of going to be a common theme about Australian Gothic, is that there are these things that might be funny or a little bit like, haha, Australia, or, but, you know, have dark underpinnings. Like, I know that something I am excited to talk about is, you know, our healthcare system. And I can't wait to look at it through the prism of one man named Raphael Salento, who was I won't get too much into it now because I would like it to be its own episode, but basically he was tasked with setting up the public health system of Queensland, which is, you know, our state that we live in, and we have benefited greatly from Queensland health. But he was a fucking legitimate fascist.
Oh, okay.
Like, had a bust of Mussolini in his home.
What? And
this information only came to light like 3 years ago because an ASIO file was finally like declassified. Yes. And this is not excusing fascism or fascists at all, but it's like this weird, Raphael Salento kind of encompasses to me how you can have this person who, despite being a fascist, wholeheartedly believed that everyone was entitled to universal health care.
That's mind-boggling.
But also part of it was that he also really believed that maybe black people shouldn't have babies.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. And I feel like, sort of to wrap things up, I'm really excited to do this project with you, because I think that there is so much to explore that could be, we can laugh about it in a genuine haha, but then there's gonna be a lot of nervous laughs, I feel, because we're like, haha, what the fuck?
Yeah. We will both be the Julia Louis-Dreyfus gif.
Yes, exactly.
You've kind of hit the nail on the head there. Like, what brought me to this premise and why I thought you'd be a great, you know, companion on this journey is I have always felt this unease about Australian culture. There was always something like a fake smile about it.
Yes. Totally.
Also, you know, just enjoy yourself. Don't point out the bits that are complicated or miserable. You know, we all learned about colonization in school. Now can't we just get on with it? Like, trying to brush things off instead of examining them when we really need to examine them, because some of them are deeply fucked and have, like, long-lasting effects. And the thesis of this podcast, which we will probably, like, explain further in, like, a treatment episode for those if you are interested in that, is that all Australian media, all Australian art, all Australian culture in general is Gothic, is haunted in some way, whether by colonization or whether by ongoing atrocities, or you know, deciding to get blackface singers on in 2009 on national television.
Yeah, no, you're totally fucking, yeah, sorry, yeah, just like slow burn of a reaction there for me, but you're so fucking right. Like, I mean, I feel like so much is cursed anyway because it's, you know, it's a colony. There's always going to be this absolutely understandable spectre of the fact that we're on stolen land here. But then it's compounded by other facets of capitalism and fucking just white supremacy and, yeah, all of that sort of stuff on top of it as well.
The deep conservatism in our country, like, we are also a deeply conservative country. There's a wonderful tweet, I can't remember the guy who said it, but it was like, Australians love to make out that we're all, like, irreverent, laid back, you know, yobbos, but the reality is we are all cops. We all want to speak to the manager. Like, it was something to that effect. Like, and the
cop country.
The TISM performance shows that a little bit. Like, oh, we love to be irreverent. We all love to be a joke. Unless the joke is on us, then we are no longer irreverent.
It's only ever a joke if we're punching down.
Exactly.
We can't punch on par, and we certainly can't punch up.
You cannot explain to Daryl Somers why the camera work framing I should mention the girls in that segment looked maybe 14 at best.
Oh, at best. At most.
This was not a case of like, oh, this is like an older teen or something like that. And even then, I don't buy that shit.
Yeah, absolutely, right? But very clearly children.
But yeah, if you point that out, the whole cast will come at you.
Yeah, because, I think Hooper just said it how it was. She brought up the darkness that is there. People don't respond kindly to it.
Even though they're supposed to love it. Even though some of these dudes are themselves claim to be straight shooters.
Just a laugh. Just a laugh.
Yeah, it's just a laugh. It's just a laugh.
Yeah. I'm super excited to continue with this, and I hope that we have been able to convey to you sort of the essence of Hey Hey It's Saturday. I really would not recommend you watch any more than the thread that will be linked to the show notes. Like the racism/sexism supercut. I think you can get all of the vibes from it from there. I will leave on one more note.
Mm-hmm.
I felt very perverted watching Hey Hey It's Saturday. I don't know if you had this phenomenon, but my husband came home when I was watching an episode of Hey Hey It's Saturday, and I sort of like signed to him like, sorry, I'm just really deep in the research. Like I felt like I didn't really want to talk to him about it, and I was listening to it, and then then something really funny happened on the show, and I felt really guilty, and so I turned around as I was laughing, and my husband was like looking at me disapprovingly, like, why are you laughing at Hey Hey It's Saturday? And I said, oh, it's just farts. And he said to me, Josie, it's just farts is the first words you've said to me since I've come home. And he was just like hamming it up for me and stuff. But it's true. Felt very sneaky and perverted for watching Hey Hey It's Saturday, but it did make me laugh because in one particular episode, someone on stage had farted, and apparently it was a corker. Oh, and everyone, people couldn't, the hosts, the crew couldn't even talk. They kept getting distracted. It kept going in their mouths, and then they were laughing, and they were getting a little bit distressed. And I'm sorry, I think toilet humor is really funny. So I was cracking up, and I thought that was the best moment of Hey Hey It's Saturday. But it was farts. It was just a natural human process. It wasn't any of their own
Get
humor.
Daryl Somers back, load him with like beans and sauerkraut, get him to go drinking the night before, and put him on stage. This is the show this country needs right now after the pandemic.
It's the IBS rights episode.
Oh god.
Beautiful.
Look, I don't blame you. That sounds kind of funny, and that was the thing. That was, again, that spark of like having a live show where they have music, and if only they like cycled out the cast members every couple of years, if only they like, got rid of the racism, it could still be an institution. But no, it's kind of a fossil because the people involved refuse to let go of it.
Which it's also fucking, that's like a mirror to like the Australian housing market. Like,
oh my god,
extractive resources and all of that stuff. It's just like, yeah, okay. Hey Hey It's Saturday could really be used as a lens to explore the rest of white Australia.
Yep. And we will hopefully be doing more of these, looking at not just stuff like Hey Hey It's Saturday, but like movies, more TV shows, the broader culture, certain Australian people. And we really hope that you guys have enjoyed it. Josie, sorry, is there anything else we want to cover before we wrap it up?
Oh, I don't think so. Thank you for having me, and thank you for thinking of me and inviting me to be a part of this. I'm really excited for it.
Thank you. I mean, don't be too happy. There's still a lot more like, horrible shit to wade through. But no, I couldn't think of a better person to explore this topic with. So thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time. Oh, sorry, Josie.
Oh, no, sorry. You're fucking right, though. Who better than Mrs. Party Pooper over here? I'm someone who likes to, like, bring up genocide whenever I first meet someone because I find talking about bleak shit interesting. So, yeah, very, very happy to be here, even though it's going to be damaging to my soul.
Well, you can't...
Until next time.
You can't spell Australian Gothic without goth, so thank you for being the goth component of the show.
Happily.
Hi everyone, thanks again for listening. Just some final notes. This will be a fortnightly podcast, so our next episode on Byron Bay and what a nightmare town it is will be out in roughly a fortnight's time. In the meantime, you can find us at australiangothicpodcast.com, Ozgoth Podcast on Twitter, and Australian Gothic on SoundCloud. Josie's other podcast is A Hill to Die On Pod, and can be found anywhere all good podcasts are sold. You can also find her on Twitter at JSSPCR1. That's everything from me. Thanks again for listening. Love you.